I'm going to share with you different body fat percentages of men ranging from 4% all the way to 40 so that you can visually estimate what your body fat percentage is right now and then ultimately where you want to go. What's your target? If you stick to the end, I'll also share with you how to measure your body fat changes within seconds, but you gotta stick to the end. And I'm gonna be showing you some quick screenshots with my computer right here. So the first thing we need to know is, what is your body fat percentage? It is simply your body fat in weight, pounds or kilograms or whatever, divided by your total body weight. And so if you take a man who's 200 pounds and has 50 pounds of body fat, he's got 25% body fat, right? We're taking 50 pounds, his fat weight, divided by his total body weight of 200 pounds to get his body fat percentage. So now I want to share with you a quick visual body fat checklist so you understand how to measure body fat just visually. So the first element is vascularity. What I mean is how easy it is to see veins. And you can see veins in maybe your arms, your forearms, even your abs if you get really ripped, or maybe even your legs or your calves. But the point is vascularity or overall vascularity is a good benchmark or checklist to look for. Second is muscle striations, okay? And so you want to see, okay, can you actually see the striations of muscle? If the case is yes, it's probably pretty low body fat percentage, right? And so the more the muscle striations, the lower in general the body fat percentage is. Again, this is all around the body. You want to be able to see this depending on how low the body fat percentage is. And then finally, we have muscle separation, which is the separation of muscles, right? So in general, if you're able to see separation of muscles, that tends to show that you have a lower body fat percentage. And so let's dive into what 4% body fat looks like. And in case you're wondering if you have 3 or 4% body fat, you're gonna find out right now. So the first gentleman we're gonna look at is Alessandro. He is a bodybuilder, and as you can see, absolutely shredded beyond imagination. And you might be wondering, why is his body fat not like 1%? I mean, it's ludicrous, right? Well, the reason why is because we all have an essential amount of body fat in order for our hormones to function. So men have around a 3%, 2 or 3% essential fat, and women it's like 6, 7, 8%. As you can see, he's got tremendous separation between muscles, insane vascularity. I mean, his muscle definition is just ludicrous, and you can see he's 4% body fat. This is as lean as you get. Or is it? Let's look at another gentleman here. We've got Helmut Strebel. He's got 3, 4% body fat. You cannot get leaner than this, dude. You're gonna be dead. So if you're wondering, is he taking something? Of course he's taking something. He's taking probably multiple things. He also is insanely dedicated to his training and his eating. When I first saw this, I just thought this guy was like an alien character. It was crazy. In case you're wondering, you know what, man, Mark, I don't know. Maybe I have 4% body fat. I'm just not sure. Well, the question is, do you have striated glutes? Okay? If you have striated glutes, you're probably around 4% body fat. And by the way, this gentleman also has the Christmas tree. So if you look at his latissimus dorsi, you'll see the lines in his back. And so this is ludicrous. I never have seen this. Again, 4% body fat is this gentleman. So now let's talk about 7 to 8% body fat. I'm gonna show you a couple photos of me. I'm usually hanging out around 7 or 8% body fat, somewhere between 7 and 10. And so this photo is of me at 36 years old. And you can see I've got veins over my abs, and that is when you can tell you're definitely lean, right? You're below 10% body fat. This is ripped, right? 4 to 4% is like shredded. 7 to 8% is ripped, right? And so you can see I've got solid vascularity. You can see separation between muscles. And you can see decent muscle striations as well. But again, the lighting matters and the hydration level matters as well. Next up, this one was taken of me just a couple weeks ago. And the lighting's a little bit different. My hydration status is different. I'm not taking a diuretic, right? Where you can flush out the water and your skin looks even more ripped. This is just kind of like a normal day, but I had a little bit of a pump as well. And so your pump, the lighting, and your hydration affect how lean you look. And then, of course, your actual body fatness, which is the purpose of this video, is to visually estimate it. So here we've got 7 to 8%. Again, you can see vascularity in my abs and really basically across my whole body. I've got pretty decent vascularity, which obviously is a demonstration of low body fat percentage. So next up, let's talk about 10 to 12% body fat. As you can see, he doesn't have the same amount of vascularity, and he's probably around 10%. He's definitely lean, of course. You can see his abs, but he's not like ripped, right? He's lean, but he's not ripped. You can see some vascularity in his arms. Again, he doesn't have a pump. He's not probably super dehydrated or anything like that, but you can tell he's got some body fat, nothing crazy. And again, he's around 10% body fat. And this is what a lot of men shoot for, right? Which is not completely ripped or shredded, as you've seen. Next up, let's talk about 15% body fat. And this is kind of a standard lean kind of dude on the beach. Not super strict, but reasonably fit. As you can see some separation between muscles. You can see his abs, right? Doesn't have too much vascularity. He doesn't have a pump. It's possible he'd have a vein in his arm or maybe his shoulders a little bit if he had a bit of a pump here, but he doesn't. But this is a decent representation of what 15% looks like. And I should mention, most guys underestimate what their body fat percentage is, right? A lot of guys, they think they're 15%, they're really 20%. And now I also want to mention there are the few different ways of measuring body fat percentage. You've got your bioelectric impedance analysis, you've got your caliper, and you've got your DEXA scan. The DEXA scan tends to be higher than a caliper, and a caliper tends to be lower than the BIA, which is kind of in between. So now let's talk about 20%. Now, this gentleman is 20% body fat. As you can see, not much separation between muscles, really unable to see his abs. He has a little sizable layer of fat over his whole body. He's around 20%. So next up, I want to show you Josh, who is based out of New York City. He did an earlier version of a program I created, and he went from about 23% body fat down to 10% body fat. And as you can see here, not much muscle definition at all. And clearly, with applying the principles I share with him, with the program I gave him, he got some solid results. Next up, you've got John. Again, he's kind of had that skinny fat build. He's around 22% body fat, and I gave him a program, and he significantly transformed his body. And this is only an 8-week transformation, which is insane, right? Like, this is unusual to have such a dramatic transformation. I mean, he went from like solid layer of fat on his abs to a 6-pack. I mean, he's probably around 10% body fat in his after photo. And so next up, we've got 25% body fat. And here you can see more body fat in the waist region. He's got probably at least a 36-inch waist, probably a little bit more. He's actually a pretty swole dude, but he's still got plenty of body fat in his abs, in his midsection. And so he's around 25% body fat if I had to guess. And so now I want to share with you my buddy Nick. And so when I met Nick, and this is 10 years ago, he comes to me. He's like, man, Mark, I really want some help losing body fat. He had a thick layer of fat around his whole midsection, around his whole torso. He looked nothing like he could possibly get ripped. I coached him, and within 6 months, he dramatically transformed his body. He became the most ripped Indian dude I've ever seen in my life, and one of the most ripped men I've ever seen. And by the way, he's 6'1", and was in the 140s in this photo. So a lot of guys, they think they want to be 200 pounds and ripped. It's just not in the cards, right? If you really want to get ripped, you got to drop your weight. And I even have a body fat calculator below in the description so you can figure out what your body fat percentage should be at a given weight. But again, most guys dramatically overestimate what their body weight should be. So let's go back to Mitch. And so Mitch, about 25% body fat. And in the after photo, he's around 15, 16% body fat. You can see his abs, but he's still got some body fat there. Now let's talk about 30% body fat. He's got around a 38, 39-inch waist, maybe even 40, which is abdominal obesity. Again, very little separation between muscles. He just has a considerable amount of body fat. So 30% body fat is literally 30% of your body weight is fat, right? So that's one way to just think about it simply. And now here's John. And so John is a pediatrician out of Australia. Let's just say he wasn't paying attention to his eating and he wasn't exercising much. Using the principles that I'm sharing with you on this channel, using our transformation system, he dramatically transformed his body and he literally got a 6-pack at 50. And so that was his goal, was like, okay, he wanted to get a 6-pack at 50. It's something that he'd never been able to achieve. And so next up is a classmate of mine from college, James. And so James was a solid 30%, maybe even a little bit higher body fat percentage. He lost 50 pounds of body fat. And at the after photo, he's probably around 14, 15% body fat, dramatic transformation using the transformation system with one-on-one guidance and accountability and coaching, right? Because that is such a huge difference. When you have the accountability and you have the coaching, our success rates are through the roof. His waist size here is a good 40 inches. And now here's Fabio, who also went through our transformation system. He started out, he was exercising a bunch. He still wasn't getting the results he was happy with. And obviously, I gave him a proper plan. He changed his eating and he dramatically transformed his body, and he's crushing it in Miami right now. And now here's 35% body fat. He's around 40% plus waist size. So if your waist size is above 40, you're probably in the 35% or above 30% body fat percentage. And as you can see, obviously no separation between muscles. You don't even see any muscles, right? Like if you flex and you don't see any difference in the before or after, that probably means you're above 25% body fat, right? Or even above 30. So if you flex in the mirror and you don't notice any difference, that means you're probably a 30+% body fat. And so next up is the last body fat percentage I'm going to share with you, which is 40% body fat. And here, he's probably 45-inch waist, some of them even a little bit higher. Again, if you think about it, 40% of the total body weight of this man is fat. So in the beginning of this video, I promised that I would give you the simplest, fastest way to measure changes in your body fat level. I've done calipers on myself, calipers on other people, and this is the caliper I use. I've pitched a lot of body fat in my day, and I've done all sorts of different body fat tests, and the simplest way to measure your body fat changes over time is with a scale, number one, and then measuring your waist, number two. These are by far, I'm telling you, it's so simple. The scale is a proxy for body fat loss, right? So if your body fat's going down and you're not eating a ton of food, it's going to reflect changes in your body fat. Their body fat's going to be going down. And as long as you're strength training, you're not going to lose muscle because your body preferentially wants to keep your muscle if you're using it, right? It's the use it or lose it principle, right? If you don't use it, you lose it. And then secondly, you want to measure your waist. And so again, the combination of scale plus measuring your waist is the most effective way to measure body fat changes over time in terms of losing fat. And if you want to build muscle, then you can measure your muscles, right? Measure the size of your arms, of your chest, of your shoulders, and combine that with the scale. It's so much faster and simpler than doing body fat calipers unless you have a trainer who can do them regularly and who's very precise, because the issue is that measuring changes in body fat is difficult unless someone's very skilled and does the same exact measurement properly each time and the same exact area. So that is everything. I hope this has been helpful for you. If you want to learn how to lose your body fat and get lean using the same principles that you see the gentleman in this video have, I created a free guide for you that is awesome, that's going to share with you in detail, in depth, how to drop body fat, even if you struggled in the past, even if you've failed really over and over again with diets, year after year, it doesn't matter. This is going to change the game for you. So click right below here. It is a full presentation for busy professional men in their 40s and 50s who want to drop the stubborn body fat and get lean for life. That is it, my friend. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it gives you a good idea of how to visually estimate your body fat percentage and then also the body fat you really want. Right? Make that your target. You can do it, my friend. Put your mind to it, put the discipline, put the effort in, and you will make it happen.